What's up, y'all? What's up? What's up? What's up? So here's the idea, right? Cancer, host and cancer, cancer and host. You focus on what are we trying to heal in this world. You focus on what are we trying to get rid of, cancer and host. Now you take it to a level of like I'm a cancer. Like I'm actually an Aries, but I'm actually a cancer. Aries represent God of war energy. They represent a lot of stuff, but they represent war. So if we're trying to cancel duality out of this world, guess what? You got to cancel out the warheads. You got to be willing to take out the war. What are we fighting for, right? Like, what are we battling? So cancer, I'll take it to the story that I'm at right now. Is you've got you got people that like I have people in my life that I don't trust, right? Because you can sense that they're out to rid themselves of something. And you might be that energy they're trying to rid of, but they're nice to you at first. Like they might feed you, they might love you, but then all of a sudden they wipe you out completely. You know, you might find that people are like that. You know, and I'm going through some of that. I'm going through some of that with some people. I'm going through the idea that people are, you got to rid the people in your life that aren't really there. You don't trust people is because they're out to get you. You know, if you guys sense it that people are out to get you, it's because they are. Don't take that feeling for granted. If you're the thing they're trying to attack, they're going to be nice to you at first. They're going to feed you. They're going to love you. They're going to host you. And then as soon as you're warm enough, they'll wipe you out completely. So you're just looking for when they're going to take that final blow on you. And you as me as a cancer, or you as a cancer, whoever it might be considered as a cancer, you know, someone to be taken out in this world, be rid of in the conscious game of people, you know, you never know. It's a lecture. But you guys are understanding that it's, you know, being cancerous or being good. The cancer that existed never asked to be killed. You had one host a long time ago, very long time ago, before cancer even existed. You had one host completely, and then the cancer somehow manifests itself. Somehow. Somehow. And then gets passed along to many other people. The discussion here is really about how do we promote better manifest or more manifest to a healing reality, a healing world, right? How do we make it a better reality for everybody? 'Cause we got grandmothers, we got uncles, we got people with cancer. We want them healed completely. But if you just take a big sword and swing it at the cancer completely, just swing it around, it's like, kill it, kill it, kill it, get it out of here, kill it. It's not helping your situation as an emotional human being. And that's not helping them. It might seem like it is, but it's not, you know? And so, as a people, we have to try our absolute best to be okay with ridding, not ridding, but ridding the people. I say ridding the people in our life that are out to get us, right? So you got to trust that if you feel like you don't trust somebody, just know it's for a good reason. But you can transmute those energies. You can talk to those energies and see if you can make it agree with you. See if you can help it to agree with you that you guys can coexist together in the way that you might want. or the way that they might need, because that's obviously what a cancer wants, is a good host. The energy of cancer comes up, it wants a good host. I'm more of a host, not for, as far as I know, I don't have any cancers, but um, you never know. I think we all got a little bit of cancer in us, honestly. You know, I don't think anyone's completely clean of any of that stuff purposely. And people that are purists that try to be completely washed clean inside and out, I don't know if they're really considered human, you know? And so we have to understand that there's the life of this world being, you have a biome in your stomach, it's a swamp, you know? Shrek was like a cancer to the human public. They wanted him gone. To himself, he was a very loving individual. He loved going to the bathroom in the morning. He loved swimming in his swamp, wiping himself clean. He loved doing what humans do anyway. He liked living. He enjoyed his coffee and his cereal. He enjoyed all that. And the humans out hunting him at night, trying to trying to rid the cancer, rid it. He's like, oh, here we go again. Oh, Christmas. What are we gonna do? You know. And so, so it's like we have to, as a host of cancer, we have to try and understand it so that we can mourn it the best way, that it actually exits the body in peace, not war. Because there is war in peace. If you're a peaceful individual, like, oh, I'm peace, I'm Zen, I'm Zen, I am peace. Well, you got war in you if you're a peaceful person. I promise you that. Some people say, oh, I'm all war. I'll kill anything. Get in my way. I swear to God. Da, 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 da. You know, Jesus is Lord and Savior. Everybody, just know that. If you got war in you, guess what? You're most likely searching for peace. You just want to clean it all up so it gets peaceful again. You know. So then it's like, what are we? I know where's the distinction of what's correct and what's not? Well, I would say the betterment of ideology, right, is to be the host. So in human life, we go from being hosted in a family. We're hosted, we're born. We are hosted first. Okay. We go out into the world, we explore, we try to become a strong enough, I would say a strong enough host, but you want to be such a strong, at first, you might have to actually become a cancer. You might have to feed off other people first. You might have to become a cancer first. Some people are like, well, I'm only gonna host. I'm only gonna do. I'm not even gonna try to be a leech. I'm not gonna try to use other people. No, you gotta use other people. You have to use what's there for you. You gotta climb the ladder of each rung. You have to. So then you get to the part where you're like, okay, eventually I have enough money saved up to where I can go get my own apartment. I can start hosting people. You get your own house. You start hosting people. So then you start bringing people into your home. But you realize something. Every person you bring in as a host, you're bringing in a potential cancer. So you have to not keep the house clean, but you have to keep the house clean so you can see what's dirty. You keep your home clean so that when something comes in, you know what it was. If everything is always dirty, you won't know what's dirty. You understand? The idea is that you help to keep it clean, meaning you help to keep it clean so that when dirty walks in, you keep it clean. You can help clean up the mess that walks in. Is everybody a mess to you? No, not everybody is a mess to me. I promise you that. They are a potential mess, actually. If you're a host, a true host, everything is a potential mess. Look at children. Children are a potential mess. They might not be messy. They might be very messy. They're a potential mess. You do a really good job keeping your house childproof where no messes can occur. There's still gonna be a mess somewhere, I promise you. They're gonna shit on the floor. You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it is. They'll piss all over the toilet seat. There'll be a mess somewhere. And so you try your absolute best, like I said, to baby proof it, but you're not gonna catch everything. You just gotta understand. And so, like, well, then what do we do? Well, if you go back into the idea of trust, right? If I go into my personal story for a second, I'm dealing with somebody who I don't trust. I'm dealing with somebody I don't trust. I thought I would be able to trust this person, but honestly, I never trusted this person because I felt like they were always out to get me. Like their energy would wipe me out to where they were the only thing standing. They would become the host. They'd walk into my home and become the host of my home. How dare they think like that? What type of energy would ever exist to think? Because I would never do that. I would never walk into someone else's hard-earned working home. Say I walk into someone else's mansion. They have 7 cars, a great wife, some other type of whatever they got going on, a great kitchen to cook on, food stocked up for years at a time. And I just walk in and start plotting. Oh, I'm about to take this over. Do, 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 do. You start being nice, you shake hands real well, you're looking around, you're like, oh man, I'm gonna take this whole thing over. Oh my God. And the person just sitting there being nice to you, feeding you, they're in a whole different state of hosting you. They're hosting. I'm being nice to this guy, they're saying. I'm loving this guy. I'm being unconditional. I'm showing this guy my life, sharing him my love. And the guy in the back room plotting how he's gonna take it over. I'm sure everyone has some betrayal in their life like that. I'm sure. You don't gotta be very old to have that energy in your life. I promise you that. So then it's like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So then we gotta be aware of the plotters. You gotta be aware of what kind of cancer is coming in. You gotta be aware that you might have a cancer in your life that comes in and says, "Oh, I'm about to plot and try to take it over because I'm greedy and I want power." Some cancers are like that. Some cancers are not helpful cancers. They don't help eat the biome, the bad biome, because cancer is what it does. It eats at you. Okay, tumors will feed. Okay, now some cancers are good cancers and they will eat the stuff that's not supposed to be in your body. They're eating away at your body, yes, but the things you're putting in, they might eat around it. Some cancers will literally eat you. They'll host in you and they'll eat you. Look at staph infection. Okay, all that stuff is just it eats away at itself. Some doesn't know any better. Some energies don't know any better. They just start eating away at itself. They exist just to kill themselves inside the self. Like it's insane. You know? Yeah, very scientific. So you wanna try to understand what's coming in. So you keep a house that's clean, so you can have a clear vision of what's coming in, so that you know that if it's gonna help you as a cancer or if it's not. Quite frankly, my friend was not really there to help me. He was there to tell himself like he was helping me. Oh, I'm gonna help him. I'm gonna help him. I'm a good friend. I'm gonna help him out. But in his own plot, he was trying to take me over, and I am not to be taken over. I am never to be pushed aside like that. Never. I host for a good reason. I put myself in a good situation to host so that I can love other people. Some would say, "Oh, like what's the point then of hosting if you're just so worried about, or if you're trying to just figure out who's trying to do it wrong or who's trying to do it a certain way?" I was everybody a cancer then, including myself. I'm a cancer. I built a house for myself somewhere, you know, and then I gotta now host other cancers, other potential tumors, people that want to grow. You got people who want to squat in your house too. In certain states, you got people who only squat if they look around to go squat like homeless people, right? They call them homeless people. People that are at home, they know they're a cancer, they know that they're a bum, right? I was one of those too at one point. I was on the street. you know, and I had to feed off everybody every dollar that was given to me. I didn't have nothing. So when I'm doing what I'm doing now, worry about that later. You know, the idea is that you put yourself in good position to love other people, to practice loving other people, to practice love. Actually, is what it's for. And it's like, oh, you just love so much that you just don't have any problems, you don't have any worries in the world. No, they would say that worry is a cancer. Worry actually builds cancers. Worry can build an ulcer in your stomach. You understand? It can. Worry can break bones. You could think about worry could literally break a bone. Literally. You could worry so much about something and it just completely snap in half. Energy is energy. We think, oh, it takes a sledgehammer to break a bone or a rock or something really hard. It's harder than a bone to break. No, 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 no. Forget something about that. Every atom that made everything. The cardboard box you can easily tear in half to the microphone or the microwave or the refrigerator or a giant car in your driveway that's way bigger and way heavier than you. All that is the same atomology at the same core level. Every single one of it. Energy. How dense is it and how much thought got permeated into it to make it that heavy? So you can literally think yourself into a hell or you can think yourself into a heaven. You think yourself into a heaven, you might want to share it so that other people can start thinking themselves into a heaven too. It's about thought. Everyone knows that. So, what did I do with my friend? How did I handle that situation? Well, I blocked him. I blocked him. He said Happy New Year to me. And then I blocked him. I said, hey, you too. I blocked him on everything that I could block him on. I went overkill a little bit. I blocked him on some platforms I didn't really have any friends on, but and then I unblocked him on those because he wasn't friends with me, so he can't message me anyway unless I'm friend him. So why overkill if you don't have to? You know? Imagine having a needed for antibiotics. You kill the thing in your body that no longer had to need the antibiotics, and then you keep taking the antibiotics because you're worried that the thing's still there, but you got word that it's gone. Like, why would you overkill? They just start killing you. You start killing yourself for the idea. I don't think so. That doesn't make no sense. It doesn't make no sense. And so, basically, we try our absolute best to um to have people in our life that are that are good to us. And yeah, when it's hard, it gets trustworthy and stuff. It's hard because betrayal is right around the corner. It seems like with good friendships, they have an option. They always have a good choice to betray. The best friends you ever had in your life, they still have an option in their life every day to betray you, and it's up to them not to. True love is a choice, so they got to understand that, you know. And so we block and we just say, no more is no more. We don't have time for certain things, but it's more about their growth. We say, okay, we're just gonna let them be them. We're gonna be us, and we're not gonna worry about that energy anymore of non-trust. Because as soon as you block it, it doesn't seem to bother you anymore. It can't bother you. They can't reach you. They'd have to go out all the way out of themselves to reach you. You have to put them in a position where they're gonna have to take their car, waste their gas, waste their footing on finding you. No, ain't no one gonna have time for that unless they really love you. But then you're gonna ask them if they show up, why you love me so much? Why what's so about you about me? Why? You don't have nothing else better to do? Some people really just come around just to mess with you even more because let's say they're a bully, they gonna show up. So if they gonna show up and be like, oh, you know, I just came up, I'm bored, I want to mess with somebody, I want to keep picking on your hairs, I want to keep picking on you because I'm bored. I'm not saying you teach them a lesson at that point, but nah, they would never show up to just pick on you. That person would never do that. If anything, they were put in your life just to make sure that you block them, block that mistrust in your life completely. Because you got mistrust in your life, they'll mask as mistrust. You'll block the mistrust. Next thing, God will bring in the next item. Either it'll be something you welcome into your life or something you block, because if your patterns to build a good, happy, standing home with a family that you want, you know, but I don't know how many children people want nowadays. I can say I personally want two. I want two kids. I don't have kids yet, but I work with a lot of children. I'm a teacher, and so I sit and I go, you know, I love people, so we try our best to just be there for them, and it's not about me. You good, everybody, in a sense. And so, what then? How do we, like, what else do you do? Like, what else? Like, is he to come back around? Da, da, da. It's like, nah, you know, he was blocked, so he can't, right? He can't come back around. No, he can't. He can't come back around at all, actually, unless he really chose to. Well, all right, so then the rest of it was just like the residue of annoyance, is saying like, oh, I had to block this good man, like, but he wasn't really that good if you didn't trust him. No, he really wasn't that good. I didn't trust him. I didn't trust him from the start. Actually, he was a sparring partner of mine. I'm a martial artist, so I sparred a long time. I know what good energy is. I know how to keep safety in people. I know how to be safe around people. I know how to protect people. I take that job very seriously. Martial artists are like spiritual cops. They look around the public. They walk around and they pick up trash. They help. They help watch kids if they ever need it. They run to help in whatever they need to do. They're superheroes. Practically we're superheroes in training. It's like we're cops without a badge, but our badge is our rank. We're ranked in the spirit. Being a martial artist is something way deeper than just being a fighter. You could be a really good human being anyway without rank. But if you do something really good in life, don't worry, the spirit gonna rank you. You're the kind of guy to help grannies across the street. No one told you to, no one taught you how. But you're the kind of person that goes up and does it. You are ranked in spirit. You have an outstanding spirit to yourself and other people. And you will demonstrate as needed to help the others grow. That's how it is. And so I take my job very seriously. As a black belt, I do. I've been teaching for a very long time, and one of the things that we deal with is, we technically know where people are going to be at, in the mind. We know where they're going to be at. So sparring, you'll always be able to tell where that person's going to be at. If you got somebody who's sparring you just to get one off you, if I'm a black belt, I got a high ranking ego. I'm not gonna outstand my ego on something. I'm gonna be like, keep them safe, complete. I'm not gonna bull them over because I can. I could ruin their whole face if I wanted to with one shot. You could break their leg in one kick, make them not be able to walk for years, take them completely out of the game, completely. You know. But why would I do that? Why? Why would I aim? I could kick their nuts, rip their nuts out of their whole sack. It wouldn't matter. But why would I do that to another human being? They got a pulse and a heartbeat and a life to live. Why would I ever try to hurt somebody so bad that they wouldn't be able to walk again? What do I have to win if I do that to another human being? Why would I do that? You got players out here who would do that. You got people out here who would literally do that to themselves. They would have so much blindness without love. They would have so much ego towards life that they would take any opportunity to take a player off the board. Oh, this guy think he big. I'm gonna rip him in half. Uh-uh. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to yourself. You know. You could have some fun, but the second someone starts thinking that they're gonna win against you in a little play match, a little tag, they ain't winning nothing in life. They losing. The second they go to that mindset, they losing. So that's what I'm talking about is cancerous. Some things are just cancerous in the mind. They are. So then it's like, how do we deal with those people? A lot of people are getting bullied. How do we deal with those people? We tell people strike first, like Karate Kid, right? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy, the type of thing. But nah, don't do that. You got to look out for those little people. Imagine if you're a big guy, you're sparring a little 6-year-old. Take that perspective for a second. You a big adult, 25 years old. I'm 27. Or you 50 years old. Or you however you old. You're an adult. You got a little 3-year old, little 4-year old. He just comes up and starts, just kicking on your shins. You're gonna punt him across the room because he's kicking on you? I don't think so. I think you're gonna start laughing. You're gonna start trying to tickle him real quick. You're gonna start playing with him. You're gonna start tapping it. You're gonna start playing. He's gonna be all right. It's gonna be in the energy of it's all right. It's all right. That same mentality gotta be applied to our adults. You have to apply that same energy of play to everyone. That little soul there is teaching us a lesson, big lesson, that it's all right to play every day. You ain't gotta be so goddamn serious. You don't have to be so fucking serious all the time. You don't have to be. When you start getting serious, life gets serious with you. And the moment you start getting too serious, it'll put you down. And I don't think anybody want to be put down personally, not even me. I like my life a little too much. So I'm always gonna take the road of like if someone's getting too serious, I won't fight as hard. I'll notice they're getting too serious, they're getting too rowdy in the energy. I won't fight. I'll back down. They're gonna say, "Oh, you a pussy, you a pussy." Nah, I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to stress myself out. I want to live tomorrow. I got good meals to eat later tonight. I ain't trying. I gotta make it home to dinner. It ain't worth it. Nobody's worth it in this life. Not one individual. Not even my own pride. Not worth it. What is worth it is being able to make it to that next farm after that 3-year old kicking your shins and you having the greatest time of your life. That's what's worth it. That energy is worth it to me. And that right there is how we find heaven. Heaven's not a place of going to after this life, it's a place of finding now. It's a place of understanding true gratitude for what is given to us in the present moment of our 10 toes being on the ground, helping out our youngest ones, helping out the elderly, sitting and volunteering at tables, wasting our time technically, not getting paid for a dang dime, not at all. But you're wasting your time for nothing because you're gaining all the time in the world being there for them. It's a perception thing. So, to kill cancer, you have to be grateful that it exists with you. It's kind of the motto here. You have to, if it shows up, say, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing, cancer? You doing good?" Like, "Yeah, man. And I'm hungry. I need some food." Like, all right, you might feed it. You keep your mentality strong. You're not gonna get eaten alive with it. Keep your wits about you. He won't be able to. It won't be able to go behind you and wrap around you and swallow you up like a python. You know. But you're just aware. You're just aware. Kind of where I sat with my man who I didn't trust. I was sitting there with him like that for a long time. I was just aware of him. He had these big fangs. Like, I'm hungry. I'm just, yeah. You want to spar? Looking for a piece of fresh meat to kind of just beat down because I want to feel better about myself. Cancer. Cancer of fighters. The guy sitting across the ring thinking he can beat you. You feel the energy of someone thinking they can beat you. And all you do is get so sick of that. How dare they think against you? That's where I come from. My father was pretty ruthless in that way. It was like they even think wrong on you, knock their ass out. I never knocked no one. I never been in a fight. Never. I never harmed nobody. The only harm I've ever really done to myself is, I might have tried to get mad. And I might have tried to kick someone really hard, but I would have missed. The Holy Spirit literally would have had me miss on my own anger towards that individual because it teach me a lesson that no, you don't do that. You don't break character because of an emotion. I don't care if they struck you 10 times, made your nose bleed. You don't break character. You stay there for them. They pound you away. You keep your hands up. You move around for them. You become their punching bag for a little bit, and eventually you'll feel the change of spirit, and they'll start standing there for you. And then you start working your technique a little bit. Don't hit them hard now, because guess what? You're gonna want to see that training partner again, even if it's in competition. I had a good coach of mine. He would say, "Don't break your toys." That's what he would say. He'd say that literally, "Don't break your toys." So You know, everyone trying to do their absolute best. Don't break your sword. So in life, we understand that we can, you know, you don't want to have happen to be like, the kind of guy that harms, because it's like, we forget that we're the only thing out here. We're not. We're not the only thing out here. You know. So it's like, where do we go then? What do we do with it? You know. Like, where is he now? Like, what's going on with that relationship? What's going on now with him? And it's like, well, after I blocked him on everything because I didn't want to deal with the mistrust anymore. I didn't want to have to explain how to do it right for somebody because I could sit and tell someone how to do it right, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if someone don't want to actually do it right, there's no point. There's no point in trying to teach someone who doesn't want to be taught. If you have a cancer in your body that's eating away everything, and you want to try to transmute that cancer to something that's going to help your biome, it's going to help you grow flowers, going to help you grow things in your stomach that's going to be good for you. You can use it as pressure. The cancer said, "Oh, I don't want to eat that. Okay, great. I want to eat this. Okay, great. I want, I want to eat this instead. Let's eat that. I'll eat this. You know what I'm saying? I'll use this energy to grow that. And that's what I'm saying. Venom in the movie Venom. That's how it was. Venom was like that. He was the guy's cancer. He learned how to work with it, talk to him, and everything. Cancer was crazy. It was, that's what I'm saying. So try your best. Try your best in life to be there for people. To remember how to play. Just remember how to play. Remember that really good feeling. That doesn't matter. That kid could come get you. That kid could get a really good shot on you. But the moment that he gets that shot on you, you just start feeling like it's personal from him to you. He start playing. He's like, ha ha, let's play some let's play some sparring. And then he whacks you one really good one. You start feeling like it was personal. What do you have against you? Or he grabs your arm really tightly and rips it off in jujitsu. He starts grabbing your arm real hard, like I'm gonna rip his arm off. The guy loses focus for him. It gets too real. Gets too sincere about what he's doing. It gets too real. And all you were doing was playing. You're past the energy of. You're so past the energy of being real. You're just worried about getting to the next battle. You're worried about getting to the next match, having fun in the dance. It's not life or death. You don't meet one person in your life that's life or death for you. Some people really think that, oh, they take him out, then life is good. Nah, that's not how it is. Because some people were really geared and they were mad they were put here by Jesus. Jesus literally born everybody here. They did. They born him. They born it here. You know what I'm saying? We are here because of Jesus Christ. I'm not gonna kid on you. We're here because of God. We didn't ask to be here. He called us all here. Some are very mad that they're here. They like, oh, I'm wasting my time being here. I can't have a job. I don't have my life going for me. I gotta do all this shit. I gotta. It's like, yeah, you feel that I gotta move my ass energy in this world. You gotta stand up on your 10 toes and you gotta walk forward. Well, I don't want to. I don't think I deserve to. I don't want to. You have to. Like, I'm gonna kill myself then. I don't have to. Go carry stuff in the bathtub then, is what my dad told me. You don't have time to sit and waste. You got time to march. You got time to walk. Like, oh, I didn't think it was gonna say it like that. Okay, I guess I'll try. Like, yeah, figure out a way to try. Find it. What can you do today? Not can you. What can you do to make $1? That's too stressful. You'll make the dollar anyway. I promise you. If you just go and try. Oh, I'm gonna go up this granny real quick across the street. Don't do it for that dime now. You know, don't do it for that dime. She ain't gonna give you one. You gotta do it because you know it's love, and you know it's a good thing. Well, I'm gonna help wipe this person's mirrors. Yup, you're just here killing time, doing action, killing time. That mean that window washing gonna take you about 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes that you just earned. Actually, you put work in, you earn 10 minutes. So you go to a farmer and you start helping him with his crops out of just the goodness of your heart because you was like sitting at home. You might have finished your reading for the day, and you see the guy across the street just on his own plowing the fields. You ain't gonna get a dime out of that. But I tell you what, you go across the street and you help him anyway, you'll gain an hour's 60 minutes worth of love, worth of time, worth of spirit energy because you helped him out. And at the end of the day, he might literally give you $1 or more. You might make $20. Say, hey, go get yourself some lunch, man. You earned it. I appreciate your help today. I didn't ask you of this, but here you go. Like, oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate you. You might not know the farmer's name yet. You never know. You never know. So the idea is what else could we be? Given chances, given a chance to like, like what is all this, da da da. Take the time and find out. See what's about it. A lot of us are too quick to assume. You ain't know nothing until you find out. They get scared like, oh, I don't have time, da da da, da da da. Okay. You ain't know that wisdom could be so powerful. Like something else could be there for you. They can say something just for you to help you understand your life a little bit better. They got wife, they got kids. Most people deal with females. Most people deal with all this other stuff. A lot of situationals in life. How do they deal with things better? How do they deal with this stuff better? How do they deal with life? Like what's going on with life? You know. Most of today's conversation was about cancer and hosting cancer, trusting people, being in trust. Someone might be dealing with forgiveness. How do I forgive a situation? You have to find out how it's giving to you. If you got a situation that's hard to forgive, it's because you haven't found yet how it's giving to your life. How is this situation giving to you? It's for giving. A lot of situations are that way. You know, a lot of situations are that way. And then you got the people that are like, oh, how do I, how do I continuously forgive energies that just seem to beat me down? Well, it'll help make you a better person. You can find out how it's giving to you to make you a better person. If you got someone who's you got bullies, you got people who do ill things to emotions, pick on you a lot, whatever. You know, then it's like, you know, eventually enough's enough, so you go ahead and battle back. And it's like, nah, not really. You got to understand that that's going to create mercy in you. If you take the time to really patience and be all right with yourself, you learn mercy. Get past the I'm sick of it energy, and you get all the way into the peace. The storm will always be in the middle because where peace is at. They look at the storm and the tornadoes are always on the outside, spiraling all around. It's crazy. You somehow get to the middle of the tornado, you might find like there's nothing there. It's all peace. It's kind of cool, actually. Then your mind comes into the idea of finding peace, looks up at the sky, and it's completely clear. Amazing. And then all of a sudden, once you realize it, the storm goes away. Unspirals itself back up to the heavens, and you're looking all around. All of a sudden, there's blue skies everywhere, green grass everywhere. Yeah, you might have some debris flowing everywhere and crazy stuff because Tornado's a tornado, you know. But at the end of the day, it's all right. Another thing that we deal with as people is, pinched nerves that are pinched. This is a big one because, I've got this, you know, this is a deep conversation. This one that like, oh, there's a lot of energies and all this stuff. It's a lot of energies. A lot of times we think it's guilt. Bottom line, if God gave you something in your life, you didn't expect the love to come around. And I say we've had probably many girlfriends. A lot of us have had many girlfriends that are just like, like we get love in our life and we don't appreciate it as much as we could. So we try to get the next best thing fast. We get bored quick. How do we not get so bored? Because when you first looked at her, all you wanted to do was try her out like a pair of socks, try her out like a pair of shoes. You know, Problem with sin is, when you get something that's yummy for the first time, and you get some real yummy, and you know what yummy tastes like, you think everyone can have that yummy for you. So what's the next girl that's gonna have the next yummy for you? So you stay in a neutral position of I'm gonna be out for the yummy and everybody. You can't settle on what's yummy, and that's the one problem that I notice with people, men, women, everybody, including myself. You know, and me particularly. I can't settle. I like being an optional space. You know, they gotta trust that the space that they in, you know, is literally for, you know, if you got someone like a female who's a spacey female, she like all type and types of flavors and stuff. She like a cheater. That's what they call her, right? You're the kind of guy that tried to knock her down as a loyal, you know, try to get her solidified. Like I'm a monogamous, so I like my woman just to me. I don't want her to even go around with other guys like that. So I find out with other dudes. The problem with other dudes is their potentiality to not being loyal to themselves. They won't help your loyalty. They'll help their own loyalty, their own mission. They won't help yours. And a woman is so, unless they're powerful, unless they loyally, like royally loyal in themselves, for real, they ain't gonna sit there and tell the other guy no. They'll entertain it. And the moment you start seeing her entertain it, that's when you notice she was unloyal. You want a woman that when she with you, she don't entertain nothing else but you. And it's hard. The women like to entertain. That's their favorite thing to do is to entertain. They like being the fool. I'm not saying they like clowning, but they like being a fool. They like making people fall because it's fun when the people fall to their knees for them over excruciating beauty. So then it's like, what do we do? You know, how do we become better at all that? It seems like there's no hope because it's their job to be unloyal, to make people more loyal, to make the man loyal. It's their job. Their cancer is to us in a way. If all we crave is loyalty, and they're not loyal, so they're not going to be loyal. They're going to be unloyal to make you loyal. Well, the cycle of learning loyalty has to end. They got to know that the loyalty has been taught and that it's time to solidify a little something different. If the loyalty has been taught, then it's something else to solidify. You got to solidify safety. They got to solidify the comfort of safety that they ain't gonna go nowhere. They got to teach the man safety, and how they do that is by being there. That his thoughts are safe, that his energies are safe with her. Women are that powerful, and a man is that weak, but he learns to be that strong. He'll be stronger than her for her. Then she'll feel safe, and she'll know that she had a hand in his growth. Like, yeah, I groomed this man. I know that what I have is good, is what she'll say. I know that is what I have is good. And God forbid he ever betray me, is what she'll say. And then she'll know it's the Father in him betraying. She'll know that it was the devil. The Father's both aspects. He's a holy man of loyalty and righteousness, you know, but then he can also become a monster and rip everything that they built to shreds because based on emotion and jealousy and all that other stuff. Emotion. So, the most thing we can really do, and it takes time, it takes time. Now, the only energy that we're really dealing with as people, again, is like the idea that we're waiting for the female to show up. What else we got to do to make her come up? What else we got to do to make her appear? What else we got to do? You might really love a woman. You might really love somebody. Might really love them. The best way to love them is to let them go and to love somebody else with the love that you have for them. To give that love a path. To give that love a footing. Give it a way. Let it go. If you try to hold it in one direction, it's not going to go anywhere. Hit a dead end. But if you give it away, it has a moment to flourish and to find you all over again, or you find it all over again, and it finds itself all over again. To where, let's say, if you build a relationship with somebody else in that same love, you teach them the love that you found. You teach it to them. You groom them. You groom the woman. As a man, if you love a woman so much, you'll do anything for her. You never craved anything more than her. And it ain't one no because of no vagina either. It was simply because it's real. True love is real. You just love somebody because you love. And it's unexplainable. You just really love somebody. Your heart is empty completely and you love them so much it fills you. And you're filled so much by the idea of loving them. Just the idea. Your life completely stops all around you. And everything around you is just slowed down. And the only thing you look at is this person. And it just seems like life really slows down because of this person. It just be like, wow, thank you. Finally, I feel like I can breathe. You know, it's like that feeling is so good. And then she create that. Then you take your attention off her just for a little bit and everything goes fast again. It starts moving too fast. Speeds up again. Well, you can take that same feeling that you have about this person and you can share it to another person. You can be the reason why their life slows down. You can hold that space for them. And so you give it away. The love that you feel for somebody, you give it away. Because the energy is that like Avatar, Sokka, one of the warriors on there, right? Main character, one of the main characters, Avatar Last Airbender. Saga hit that point with Yue where his whole world slowed down. He was like, "Oh my God, she's so beautiful," but his life just made sense for a moment. You know, like destiny hit him. He didn't know he was talking to the moon spirit. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know it. You know, his whole life was about talking to his sister a certain way. It was talking about these fish, talking about the avatar, talking about all that, and then all of a sudden, it's, wait, everybody, hold on. He's like, whoa. So guys, I'll be right back. I gotta go talk to this person real quick. His whole life that he was about completely ceased from him. He forgot about the fish he was fishing for. He forgot about correcting his sister. He forgot about the fact that he was following the avatar and having to help him on his journey. He just looked at this woman and was like, hey, I'll be back, guys. I'll be right back. His whole life took a change. And so, you're like, okay, so then, like what else are we gonna, you know? And so we decide that you know, and it's funny because later in the series, he had to let her go. She became the moon spirit. Literally, he had to let her go. His life returned, but he had this great feeling with him the whole time, where he would look up at the moon and he would know it was staring right at her. He had all these other girlfriends. He had Suki. He had all these other ideas. All these other people that were there for him too. I remember that moment when him and Suki were on top of the mountain and he was staring at the moon, just loving on the idea of loving her. And Suki shows up. Is like, and it kind of showed up as a distraction for his thoughts for a moment because he was only focused on his reality, his real love. And Suki's there and he's just like, no, not right now, sorry. And he walks away. She's left there at the moon, at the mountain with the moon spirit. The next morning they get up and they're great. Everything's fine. He showed a lot of love to her. Everything's great. They travel, whatever. Serpent's Path, everything is great. And so, um, that was the episode for that. I believe it was Serpent's Path. And so, you know, and so we we had this idea where Sokka had this love and he had to share it as much as he could with his next one, his next girl, his next woman, Suki. He had to share it with her. You know, I'm trying to remember if they left the Northern Water Tribe before they met Suki, or did they meet Suki at Kyoshi Island before they went to the Northern Water Tribe? I think they were on their way to the Northern Water Tribe. So he actually met Suki first, and then he met Yue. You see, the craziest thing about Warrior's emotions, he'll meet his divine technically before he meets his full emotional cycle. You see how that works? He'll meet his total divine energy, like his because I'm pretty sure him and Suki stayed together. Saga, I'm pretty sure had kids with Suki. If I look at the cartoon and the comics were correct, I think that's what happened. I can't remember the exact, but he met his divine, meaning divine that would grant him more life, his heart's vine. The vine of life. Vine is something that two strands coil together, and they might even make a third strand. I'm not sure, but I gotta look at how that's created. But the vines are very beautiful entities. They create themselves out of pure love too. They tangle themselves up and they wrap all the way around, and it's amazing what happens with vines. But anyway, Suki was his divine, his main vine, and then you had Yue, which was his full cycle of emotion in himself. He met his emotional cycle in fullness, an embodiment of his full cycle of emotion. That's why he was so stuck. He told his whole life to pause for a second for this one entity, this one spirit, this one being, you know? And all he could do was focus on that. Everything made sense to him because he was looking at his whole story of emotion in front of him. Like that. I got somebody like that too. A story of a man is like that actually. If you pay attention as a man, everybody goes through that. You'll have a divine, someone you meet that just will take you through the rest of life, and then you'll have your full cycle of emotion. You might meet your full cycle of emotion before your divine. Sokka was a little different. Sokka met his divine, I'm pretty sure, before, because yeah, they had the water scroll with them. The rough rhinos were around, all that stuff. It was a whole episode. I could be wrong about that though. I gotta remember how they left the Northern Water Tribe. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure they had the scroll first. Then they got all the way to the Northern Water Tribe, and Katara learned the most powerful version of herself bending in front of Master Paku. She learned how to water bend for real. You know what I'm saying? She didn't need no scroll to teach her shit. You know what I'm saying? She had the whole power of the moon behind her for the first time, defending the moon and the water tribe. The Northern Water Tribe. She was there in that energy. You know, it was a whole different thing. And so Avatar's a great series. Yeah. So basically, so Suki was Sokka's main vine, his main woman. Met her first, his warrior, his twin in warriorism, right? And Yue was his emotional cycle, his spirit. His spirit of love in him. So he'll always love Yue more than anybody because that's him. That's his emotions. You know, but doesn't mean he didn't love Suki any less. In my personal story, I might have met my emotions. I might have met someone that really that really understood my reflection of emotion the best way, help me in a way like Yue helped Sokka. And then she had to go. She had to go, just like Yue went. She had to go. She had to go complete her duty as a being here. She had to go complete her cycle. So they couldn't have each other like that, but they were destined. You know, it breaks a man's heart to have to let go of something that you could cherish forever, that you love and cherish forever already before meeting its physicality. You were born to love something, and you meet that thing in the face of, and then you have to let it go so that you can actually love what's for you. Imagine he didn't really let Yue go. He stepped at the mountain the whole day. Suki was right there the whole time with him. He would have never seen Suki for real. But he got off his self. He was like, all right, the moon right there every night. I can see her every night. But Suki's right here every day, every night. And he loves Suki. So that was what I'm saying. Sokka and Suki. It was cool. And Katara, that was different. That was a whole different story right there too. But this life's about love, so that's what it is. It's about love. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm heartbroken for sure. Just like Sokka, was always kind of heartbroken over Yue. I never expected to have to let go of someone that I really love. I met someone that made sense to me, you know, and I had to let go. I have to let go. I still have trouble letting go of this person. I don't know who I'm gonna necessarily replace. It's not a replacement. It's it's a step forward. Actually, not a replacement. It's a step forward. You have to step forward into a new thing. You have to bring what you learned into the newest, and you have to be strong. You know, it's the way of a man, the way into fatherhood, actually. So, it's like I'm looking around nowadays, like who am I gonna take on? Who's gonna be there for me? In my warrior path, who's gonna be there for me? Like who's gonna be my next Suki? Who's gonna be that woman in my life? And so, we don't choose these things; they choose us. And Transformers is like that. The car don't pick the driver. The driver don't pick. He said it so specifically too. I'm trying to remember the exact line he said. Driver don't pick the car. Car pick the driver. You know, and so it's the same idea in love. You know, You'll be picked. Someone will see you for what you're doing, will understand your direct path just like theirs, and you guys will have a meeting of understanding, and you guys will walk path together, and it won't be questioned. It won't be a question. That's what monogamy technically means, is it won't be a question of loyalty. They will feel the exactity of what it is, the divinity of what it is. People that are married for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, they never have a day where they were questioned about their loyalty to each other because they knew that they were only meant for each other. They helped each other through their hardest times. They were in such a wreck when they met each other, and they brought each other out of that, and they held stronger. Matter of fact, if they didn't have each other to hold each other up, they will fall again back to the place they were at before. So they look at themselves at the top, and they look at the top of this mountain, a giant ladder in front of them, and the only way to make it up is to help each other. The one guy tried on his own. Said, I don't need you, woman. I don't need you. I got this, bro. I'm climbing. I'm climbing. He falls. Bam. She's like, boy, get out of my way. I got this. She climbing, do 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 do, and then she get a little higher than and falls. Bam. And then they both look at each other like, uh. Like I told you to step that one line. I told you to step. You wasn't doing what I was saying. I was trying to tell you at the very bottom. I was saying, put your foot there, put your foot there, and you would tell like, you know. They start figuring out life together. Right in me, the argument is figuring out life. They just figuring it out. So they're like, all right, so what are we gonna do? They're like, tie this rope like this. Put your foot on that rock, not this one. When you get up there, I'll tell you exactly when. Just listen to me. All right, fine, I got you. He climbing, he climbing, he climbing, he climbing. And she's like, ready, ready, now. And then he does it. And what do you know? He's climbing up higher than she ever got, higher than he ever got before. They were there for 3 days straight trying to climb the same damn mountain. you know. And eventually he catches a moment in himself where I could just leave this girl down there. I could just keep going. I'm right there at the top. I keep going. I can continue my journey all by myself. I could think about this other. I could just keep going, but I can't. I'll be right back. He tells us I'll be right back. He goes all the way down for that woman, and he drops all the way down. Boom. It's like now you try. Do the same thing you told me. It works. She's like, you came back for me. You didn't let me just stay down here. Like, no, why would I do that? We need to get up this mountain together. Come on, let's go. And he starts literally lifing with a new person. And yeah, I'm sure he's pissed off that he has to do that a little bit because all he really wanted was what he wanted, the excitement, the glimmer of adventure. I'm going towards something. I don't need anybody else. I'm going towards my love. I'm going toward it. But it's just emotional. As you saw when he got to the top, he was almost there, and he was like, I could just leave her behind. The energy of clearance. You're clear. You're in the clear. You can just keep going. Like go back down. Go back down. Get that person that just helped you. Go back down and see. You know, smack hands, high five it. Let's go. You both tied a rope around each other now. You both climb the ladder together. You keep each other up. She'll lead. You already made it. She'll go first. And you tell her you're right behind her, boosting her up. You making sure that she's not gonna fall because you already know what it feels like not to fall anymore. So you hold her up. She told y'all not to fall. She did. She awared herself. She told you all not to fall. But you're gonna be there to make sure she doesn't. So then you support her footing on the one step that she told you to watch out for. She gets up a little bit higher. Then now she's kind of pulling you up, actually, making sure that you get up there with her. And then both y'all are sitting at the very top, huffing and puffing, like, dang, that was crazy. We was done it for 4 days. like. In the Dark Knight is the same thing. When Batman climbed out, who helped him climb out? His enemy, Bane, literally helped him climb out. Told him how to do it. He put him down there and told him how to do it without the rope. He was like, it was a mind trick to this shit. He's like, you can't just use the rope like everybody else. Everyone trying to get out of this bitch, and they all using the rope. He's like, it's the mind trick to this thing, man. This cave is crazy. But the moment you give the cave the respect of its rocks in the sides, the cave gonna help you out. It's gonna show you that you with something. That ledge gonna extend itself a little extra. You won't notice it, but it's gonna extend itself for you. So that's the whole point of love, in a certain sense. So then you guys walking, then you guys lean on each other, you're at the top of the minute, walking. Next thing you know, it gets real hot, sunlight. Then you gotta figure out the next trial together. All of a sudden you're like, dang, you know, who knows? The next argument come up, be like, you drank too much water. Like, I drank too much water? Woman, you was sipping double. You know what I'm saying? You start having a portions for each other. You start having a portion. So the one guy got to be less selfish a little bit, just a little bit. He's got to be a little less selfish. The next time that he wants to take a sip, just to change the balance of frequency, he's got to give his sip to her to show her that he can hold her energy, to keep her upstanding in his own mind, not just about being there for her physically. But he's got to hold her up energetically. He's got to give his physical self up to her. I mean, you got to give his sip to her, his water sip, you know, things like that. And so then he gives that sip to her. They're going to cross the point now where they both like, I need a sip of water. They both on the same energy. I need a sip of water. She's like looking at the bottle. You see her looking at the bottle. All of a sudden, you're like, take my sip. Receive that. Yeah, 2 sips. Take that. You'll be fine. Like, what about you? She might say that. What about you? I ain't worried about me right now. Take that sip. She'll be like, okay. She takes 1 sip. She's looking at you here. You just nodding your head, like, go. She take a second sip. Then both of y'all come more to life. Both of y'all start glowing. Both of y'all get strength somehow. You guys walk for an extra 10 miles, no sips of water. None of y'all. 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, no sips of water. Strength. At some point in time, you guys come to a village, something kind of cool happens, you know? And then, who else happens after that? Who knows what happened after that, You might come to a bar scene where dudes are hungry for that good poutine. They haven't had nothing in a long time. But you bringing a girl in there. This story get deep. And so then you go all the way into the part where a few versions of altercation come up. Social altercation. Now you gotta defend your cause. You gotta remember yourself as a man before time, and you gotta include the idea of keeping this person safe. You gotta keep them close to you. You gotta can't let anything happen to them. As a man, is what you're thinking. The woman's like, we gotta get through this. We can't just, we just here for water. We just here. We just here for shelter and for water. We're not here for trouble. The man's like, oh, I'm smelling trouble. I'm smelling sense of someone hunting for blood. Maybe you could walk into a whole bar where no one's hunting for blood at all. Everyone's just like, "Hey, doing ya?" And you guys just want to stay there forever. The one girl starts saying, "Hey, we gotta pack up and go. We gotta be out of here. We gotta get moving." And the one guy's like, "What? No, we found shelter. Are you kidding me?" He's totally content. He's like, we found shelter. You're safe. I'm safe. We gotta stay here for another 6 months. We can chill." No, we gotta keep moving. We've been here too long. You know, like, why are you worried? You know, and she'll say, she won't be able to acknowledge that the truthful way, but she could probably manifest in her mind a reason to be worried. She starts getting comfortable, she can start manifesting worry on accident. Her power is that great. And she doesn't want to catch the man up in her own demise. That's her fear in life. The guy's not going to know that right away. Now, if he's a smart man, he'll tell her long before this conversation, maybe a couple days before. He'll be like, "Hey, look, I'm sensing that maybe you could start getting uncomfortable about being here. You've been here a little extra long, been here for about a week. This is a scenario where the comfort of the inn is so comfortable. No one has any trouble. Everyone loves you. It's like a family. It's like you start saying, "Hey, I sense that you might be getting a little uncomfortable with this place. Is everything okay? What's going on? I can sense that maybe you might want to be moving on. Is that true?" Like, well, and she might try to fish it a certain way where she's like trying to make sure that you're not catching on to her worry, because she might be developing some love in herself in a way where she doesn't want anyone to feel her worry, because she's powerful in her anxiety and her worry. She's powerful. And so you're like, Well, I want you to know that it's all right if you're worried about it being too much here, and I understand that. We can go. We can go anytime you want. We can pack it right now. She might say, we can stay a few more days. It's all right. I'm okay. Just because you checked her worry for her power for her, you're also keeping the worry and energy in check as well. Scenario after scenario after scenario. And then, so you guys end up packing up and leaving. You start feeling like I gotta develop a conversation to the innkeeper. I gotta figure out saying my thank yous, and I gotta make sure they know that we're in good hospitality with them always in spirit. Thank you so much. Da 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 da. We'll be on our way. And then all of a sudden, you guys leave the inn, and next scenario starts. You know, the way balance works. Let's say if you get to another town where you might have thieves and people running around, and it might be crazy. So you might start getting the feeling of keeping all your stuff real tight and locked up completely. Where you're just having to keep everything under wraps. Like, stay close to me, stay close to me. Energy like that. Environmental awareness. There's one person's job to be environmentally aware, another person's job to be, a way of they both got to be environmentally aware, but it's really about the idea that one is environmentally aware and the other one has to be supporting that person who's helping the environmental awareness, who's being environmentally aware, telling them, watch out, back to back, that type of thing. Teamwork. And so, they gotta once they get into the idea of this next town where they're sitting there and they're like I said, there might be some interesting things happen at the town. Last town was real peaceful. This town might be a little bit different. And it might be some thieves, might be some whatever. Keep your stuff locked up, you'll be good. Might be some weird questions, might be some this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, you both gotta be willing to actually, do your part. So, it's life's about love. So, and to know how to do it right, each scenario. You gotta know your role as a man, as a woman, you know. You gotta know what's right in your heart. You gotta know how to take care of. This whole basically podcast was about that for today. You know, where it all started though was they was at the mountain. They were at the very bottom of the mountain. They got to climb this mountain up, and they got to help each other. And where it really started was the man was in love. And he had to figure out. He had to figure out giving his love away. That's where it starts at. Is giving his love away, giving his love a path, giving his love a walk. Because love can be leading. It can lead you. But once it dead ends, you have to then give it away. You have to then forge a path. You have to give it a way. The love is a directional energy of force. If it's just pushing up against a brick wall, not going anywhere, it's like a vacuum cleaner, an electrical vacuum cleaner that just be pushing everywhere, and all of a sudden it hits a wall and it can't go any farther. It doesn't know where to go. It's like, and it just keeps going in the fucking wall, and it doesn't do anything but like, go into the wall the whole time. It runs into the wall and doesn't go anywhere else. And you're like, this vacuum supposed to be have a sensory organ where it just flows from one wall to the next part of the room. It knows where the dirt's at. It's supposed to do all that, but why is it just stuck on the wall? Like, it's just insane. That's love. That's what love does. Love is literally like that. If you don't give it away, you don't give the love that you have for somebody away, especially when you build it up like that, it will just run into a wall and you'll be wondering why you feel so stuck in your life. And you're like, oh, I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to be loyal. I'm going to keep going the same direction. I'm going to push through. I'm push through. I'm push through. Nah, the love is too strong. It's the love of the wall is too strong. You're not going to be able to push through. You got to redirect yourself. You got to take the love that you have, that intention of going that direction. You got to look at the next person who's willing to hold that with you, and you got to give it to them. so that they can learn. And then once they learn, you might literally see that person you loved so greatly again and be reminded of everything that you went through. And that's going to be hard because you're going to be like, finally, she's here. What do I do? You're going to have to look at what you built. If you build a family, if you build something with that person, you built trust, you built things. You're not going to be able to betray them for an old love. You're going to have to hold on. You're going to have to be like, you're going to have to just nod heads across the room, not break many words. It's going to have to be left in the understanding. The moment you break character, she notices that you break character, you know? And you don't want your newfound love to see you breaking character and being weak. You know, it's hard, I know, because that's what I'm saying. It's hard. Because that's the idea though. Eventually you'll see each other again and you can't break character. You know, Sokka on the mountain in Avatar, and he met you as a moon spirit that time he's sitting there in council with her. And then Suki comes up to him. You know, Suki's is divine comes up to him and she's like, hey, you okay? What's going on? You know, da 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 da. And she's like, and he's like, oh yeah, you know, my first girlfriend turned into the moon spirit. You know? So that's what I'm saying. I think Yue was his first girlfriend, like you said. I think Yue was his first. I think Yue and him met first, and then he met Suki after that. You know, I think that's what it was. I remember now. Yeah. So, so, and then they had to meet. She was working. They went to this train station where in the Serpent's Path they had to go into Ba Sing Se, and she had you know uh had to use the train ticket, but they couldn't do it. They had to run through the Serpent's Pass. They had to use their foot. They had to go by foot. They had to go on foot. You know, and so they go on foot, and before they leaving out, Suki running up with her uniform all over again. She quit her job and was like, "I'm gonna run with y'all on the Serpent's Pass." You know, why else do you think she did that? You know, her path called her to do that, to be next to Sokka and to help him through. You know, because he was a real man. He had real emotion, had real life. He went through his cycle of emotion already. He passed. And you know, the divine saw him and was like, I'm gonna help him. You know, so we can't force relationships. What this all started with, we can't force relationships. You know, we can't force something. You know, we have to actually be okay with what's been given to us, you know. Part of my problem is I'll hold myself back, you know. I'll literally say the right words to somebody, I'll realize the right thing. Somebody might be a literal good twin. Someone might be a really good twin for you. You know, they might literally be a really good twin. And but the problem with your emotions, just like the guy climbing the mountain, he gets all the way through with the help, and instead of going back down the mountain to get the girl to help her out, you know, he he goes with the clearing. He feels the clearing energy, like, oh, I'm free, and I'm just gonna walk up the rest of this stuff and not turn around and look back for her at all. The person that helped him. And so I had a girl in my life, a couple women actually in my life, you know, a couple conversations, you know. I keep telling myself that all I want is what I want. All I want is my true emotional story. But it's holding me back because I got so much love in my life that's here and around. That's you know, I might have someone in my life who's walking with me, who really wants to be there for me. You know, but then there again, there are some energies that I feel that might be considered snake energies that are just like they're there as like a feeling, to try and get you off guard. But I don't know if that's really the case. I don't know. You know, I got a few women in my life that are seemingly very supportive. You know, you look at a future with these women, you're like, I could do a future with them, but ain't nothing gonna match to the power of the love that I understand. And do I really want to waste my time with another woman trying to make it work where I have so much love for this other person? I'd rather just stick with the energy of loving this person for the rest of my life, and I don't want to worry about making love all over again. You know, sadness is a real thing. Being in sadness, you know, sadness can form anger, can form a lot of different emotions. You know, and I would be naive to this path. And, you know, the hardest part is to me realizing that I, you know, might have to move on, is what they call it. I say moving on. You let love, you give the love away. You formulate so much good energy and thought. You take all that what you get, you give it to the next person who's willing to hold it with you in the real time. Because it's just energy. You take a U-Haul truck to all your energy into one house that you stored up. You stored up a lot of energy, build a lot of energy towards something, towards someone, a lot of manifest. You know, I told a whole restaurant that I was gonna be with somebody. A whole restaurant. This is my wife. This is gonna be my wife. Da da da. Imagine how much manifest that is. How much thought and the subconscious goes into that. Everybody who thinks about you manifesting that for her. They think about your happiness. They think about you manifesting that happiness they think about helping you manifest that happiness. So now they're all pushing the mining picks towards mining this path for you. And the person that you're doing it for literally could be blind. They're not on the same path as you. So you mining towards an opening, but a dead end. You're mining towards an opening, but a dead end at the same time. You're mining away at the dead end. Literally, it's a cave, and you're mining the fucking cave. Eventually, you come out of the mountainside. You get sunlight, and you realize, not saying there's nobody there, but you realize that it's just an open playing field. That she's not there. But the person that was actually there with you mining this thing, she comes out of the backside of you with her mind. You're sitting there looking at the fucking opening like, I don't understand. Like it's just a clear sky with a bunch of grass fields and grazing cows. How do I and she comes out and she's like, that was crazy. We've been mining this thing for fucking days. How you feeling? And that's not the girl that you were chasing after. But it's the girl that was right there with you mining it. Mindlessly. She didn't even know why. She was just mining it for you, with you. So then what do we do? How do you give someone so much respect? How do you let something go so important to you? 'Cause all you want to do is get so mad. Like, she's like, why are you getting mad? We just finished the whole cave. Look at it. We got a whole opening now. That's crazy. There's so much we could do. And then she starts really thinking about it. Like, wait, all this wasn't just because? She starts feeling the false intention or the intention. Like, oh, you just used me? What the hell? You know? And then you gotta turn around and like, no, 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 I didn't. And you kind of like that because you did. You did just use her to mine this cave for an opening that wasn't really there, wasn't really real. Then you gotta reroute your mind and say, all right, let's go build something in this cave together. You gotta distract your whole mind from that individual that you love so much that you're going towards the path in yourself. You gotta distract yourself and you gotta say, let's go build this house. Put all your attention onto that. And you heard just build this thing out completely, having fun, eating apples, whatever you're doing, you're eating all right, you know, you're making fruit, you do whatever you're doing, you know, you're building life. To the realization that You're never gonna see that person again that you love so much. And the person that's there with you loves you so much to stay with you. She's a partner, she's a companion to you. She mindlessly there just somehow in the energy, just you don't know why she's there, but she's there. Like Shrek, he's an angry guy in the swamp, you know, angry guy in the swamp. All of a sudden he goes and Donkey shows up. Friend, a talking donkey shows up. Something about waffles in the morning, all this stuff. And he's like Shrek. He's like, damn, I don't have time for this. You know why? 'Cause all he wants to do is mourn the fact that he's a giant ogre and that people hate him. He just wants to sit in the energy of that all day long, mourning that. He feels more powerful thinking about what he would do to humans or what he would actually do. Or better yet, he would feel more powerful being so sad that he's not accepted in life. He would feel so much better, you know, being like that than he would actually being a part of life. So what happened? The donkey tells him about how the freaking fairies and everything show up at his house. Everybody showed up at his house. Now the donkey first. Everybody magical beings showed up at his house because they told him they said where we're gonna put all these magical creatures, from land of far, far away. Like they took all these creatures to the swamp, and the Shrek like, how the flipping world did all y'all get put here? Like, oh well, it made sense. You're the ogre, and we found out there was an ogre sitting here, and they all thought that we were creatures too, so we all just band together. And the Shrek like, oh hell no, I'm not about to, nah, bruh. It's like I'm an ogre. Like this is my swamp. Like you can't do this to me. He's like, I'm about to go talk to Farquaad. He runs out. He ventures all the way to Farquaad's castle, destroys all his men, and just gets a simple meeting with the dude. Like, bruh, you going to take all your creatures back off my land because I'm the ogre of that swamp and I did not say they could be there. He's a host, and someone placed cancer, what appeared to be cancer, in his home. So he had all this adventure going on, all this stuff. Da, 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 goes and rescues his princess that he wanted. Farquaad's like, I want this freaking princess. I want her. You so powerful and tough, ogre. You just took out all my men. Go get me this princess. Slay that damn dragon. Show me what you're about. And I'll free you. I'll free your swamp. His swamp was free before they put that damn thing on. You know what I'm saying? He was confused, like, what? All right, fine. He's like, fine. He runs up that jump. His that princess hugs him over his back. He walking back to Farquaad's castle order. Like, he's like, like, this is ridiculous. Like. And eventually they had this whole moment where they just, like I said, they fall in love. She falls in love with him. But the funniest thing about it, she was an ogre. What I thought was funny was how she was an ogre at nighttime. She turned into an ogre. Her father was disgusted with the fact that she would turn into an ogre at night. So she locked her away in a castle when he found out that that's what she was. He was disgusted. He was like, I can't have this. I birthed a demon. You know what I'm saying? He locked her away, put a dragon in front of everybody who tried to get her. Like you gonna live here forever, but guess what? Ain't no one gonna touch you. I promise. You're gonna be safe. This dragon gonna make sure of it. The dragon eat anybody that comes up to this bitch. You know what I mean? Eat anybody that try to touch her, bro. What she didn't realize was she was better getting eat by the dragon because she had to live with the fact that her father thought she was disgusting. It was the whole thing. Her life was crazy. Fiona's life is insane. Her best friend was the dragon, literally. You know, came that way. Anyway, so look, and so the he goes and gets her. Shrek was alone, didn't know that he had love in his life, thought he was alone all his life, didn't have a partner, nothing. It was just a single organism without a host or a cancer to help him in his life. And so he gets a whole adventure to go and find his ogre self, to go and find Fiona. Fiona was in the mix of the both worlds. She was both human and ogre. So at nighttime, she had to hide herself from everybody because she couldn't be seen as the ogre that she really was. She didn't want to tell him because then she knew that he would fall in love as an ogre because he was not human. He was only ogre. Later in life, she found, he found out that he could be the very godmother transformed him into a human, showed him his human side, you know, showed him that. And that was the whole thing too. And so basically, like, that one scene where he's like trying to figure it out, like he's like, wait, he's like, why is she hiding herself from me? What's going on? Eventually they find out. Donkey finds out for him. The troop goes out and gets it. He's like, oh my God, Fiona, you're part ogre too. It's like you actually understand this man over here. Now it all makes sense. She's like, yeah, I know, but I can't tell him. Oh my God, you know, like I didn't know there was an ogre like me. Is what she thought. You know what I'm saying? She didn't know. She had no idea. She didn't know either. Then the ogre come and rescue her ass. You know what I'm saying? She thought she was the only creature too. Yet she was guarded by a dead dragon. You know, and she was living in the land of all these fairies and magical things, and in her castle and everything. And it was insane, far, far away. So she lived. So that was her kingdom. She was from there. She was magical. And her dad was not. Her dad was a pure human. You know, and I don't think her mother was an ogre either, as far as I know. She was a queen, but she didn't have. She had magical abilities, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think she did. I didn't demonstrate like that, but she was powerful. Her mom was powerful. She was kicking some ass. You know what I'm saying? And so, and so, they basically, you know, so Shrek was like, eventually he falls in love with the fact that he's not alone anymore, and he feels so understood. He feels so understood that he starts having true compassion in himself for the first time. Really seeing, wow, like there's not just me out here. Okay, I gotta change some things up. He eventually gets all the way back with Fiona, and then they trying to take her away as a human. And he's like, "No, you ain't about to take my only love from me. The hell." Matter of fact, remember she went with him. She went with the Farquad. She went with him. She called him. She told him exactly where they were at. She went out and got him, and she agreed to go with him as a human because she so badly was only still focused on the fact that her dad had banished her for being an ogre, and she had found what supposedly meant true love to keep her in human form, so that he could be, so that her dad could love. Because remember that was the rule of her dad was to find a guy that would keep her in human form. Is if you got one guy who can come up as a human, a human guy who can come up and save you, you know, slay the dragon and rescue you as a human, then I'd accept you back into the kingdom. Is what the deal was with her father and Fiona. And so the ogre rescued her. Her ogre self actually rescued her. And then she went with the human version because it was like a bargain tree. It was like, oh, thanks, ogre self. But I'm gonna go be my human now and get my family back and do whatever I gotta do. Selfishness, basically. She didn't accept true love. She was like, oh, I'll take everything I can get for that. I'll be accepted. You know, couldn't accept the monster and stuff yet. Eventually, Shrek, at the same time, Shrek eventually ventures all the way back, becomes angry all over again, to falling in love, having a great time. The little blowing up the frogs and running around and all that stuff, the donkey and all this crazy stuff. And all of a sudden, he eventually realizes that she was just playing him too. That she played him and brought Farquaad. Matter of fact, I think if I remember correctly, Farquaad. Remember the deal was the deal. He had a deal with Farquaad. He forgot. Shaq had fallen so deep in love with the fact he had forgot the deal. He forgot that it wasn't just an adventure. He didn't just go out there on his own. No, he was sent out there to bring her back to the castle. So he remembered real quick. So, oh shit. So that's right. His life hit him hard. And then so he ended up walking himself back to the swamp, yelling at Donkey the whole time, telling him to get the fuck away. All this stuff. Donkey eventually gets scared, runs away. But what does Donkey do? A true friend. Donkey literally goes and gets the dragon. He went all the way back. No one told him to do so. He got the dragon. Freed the dragon and was like, "You gotta help me. Fiona's in danger, and Shrek's in love." Donkey's like, and the dragon's like, "Shit, all right." You know what I'm saying? And they go out. They fly all the way there, and they show up, and Shrek's like, "Here we go again. Like, what the fuck?" I was like, "All right, now we're on a different energy though. No one told us to do this." You know what I'm saying? Donkey's like, "No one told us to do this part. What are we gonna do? Never gonna rescue the princess for real. Never got a real mission." You know? And Shrek was like, but she went with him. Like, nah, you don't understand. That was a deal. It's arranged marriage. It's a deal. It doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. True love is what's real, man. You gotta understand this. True love, not this fake arranged. I want this. I go pay my way to get it. I go pay for this queen. I sent this. I sent this beast to go get my bidding. I could have done it myself. The human said the guy was too greedy though. He didn't have no. He had no power. The Farquaad had no power. He's a short little stout guy. You know what I mean? He had no power for real. Seriously. And so Shrek like, all right, bet. Now we on my time, is what Shrek said. They hop on the dragon, all of them together, they fly up to the castle. Literally, just in time for Shrek to run through the doors and I object. He had found his power as a man, in himself as an ogre, to say, I object at a human wedding. Every human in there, the priest, everybody's like, oh my God. like they're like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? There's a demon telling to object to a wedding in a human side. What are we gonna do? This monster saying that we this monster is telling that we had, and the word though is the only thing that makes us human. The word is what's true. So the word said, it objected. They had to listen. They had to listen. They could not listen. They had to listen. And Fiona, of course, melts right then and there at the truth. Because what else are they gonna do? The word I object came into play. She getting ready to do her bidding with this dude because of what her little fantasy. But then true love hit her. Something objected. Something objected her. She was like, "Whoa, I'm objected against." And is this guy, this myself, my real self objects my human side for getting married. That's deep. So what happens? True love, of course. Shrek goes, he tells her how much he loves her, and he objected. He spit out his actual self at her. Herself reflected the true self. Her true self said to her, I love you, and that's what's true. Her ogre self said that to her. She heard that, and she goes, "All right, fine," and literally transformed into the ogre forever to be with herself. Herself loved her more than anything, you know. And they got to live happy ever after. They had kids and everything. It was amazing. Little ogre babies there. It's hilarious, you know. So there's a lot with that, It's all timely though. The best part was the same time that he's mourning at his house, all the magical stuff is gone. The donkey shows up at the exact same time that he's deciding to go and get her. At the same time that he shows up, all this stuff. What I thought was crazy was when Donkey was in the window pane, you know, and he like go get her Shrek. And that was one of my favorite parts. And he walks up, and he does that stuff. He speaks his truth as a normal being, not just as an ogre yelling and screaming, "Raw, my swamp!" You know, he had the opportunity to really speak his heart. So it wasn't just a monster in there. It was like it deserves true love. You know, it does. You know, it's a whatever it is, it has love in it. Dracula's another funny story like that. You know, Dracula being a vampire. You know, being the sharp teeth, being the shadows. You know, can't go out in the sunlight. A lot of weird stuff with that Dracula character. You know, but true love found him too at some point. Every single monster we've ever encountered in our lives is true love inside. It has a reflection of itself out there that will understand and will protect it and will show it that world that it is accepted. You know, one cannot be without two, or one cannot be without three, because one is your voice, two is your body, three is the reflection on the outside of that thing of the Mechazord here. You know, three is a reflection. Four is your creation, your first creation. Five is your second creation to complete it. Six would be your love. Seven would be your godliness in between all that. Eight would be the referring cycle of life, the loop or the referring life. I say the recurring of life. The choice. Eight is called the choice actually. Eight is a choice because you do it over and over and over and over. Nine is when you share this over and over and over in this. You allow it to be branched out to another family, another loved one out there somewhere in the world. You serve it. You serve energy. You share what you're bringing to the world. You bring it to somebody else. You share it. You know, 10 would be 101. Not just 10, but 10 is a 101. You learn something. After that cycle, you learn something. You 101. You go back to school. You go to school. You know, you learn something. And then starts over from the beginning again, you know. One turns into two. Because zero's in the middle of 101. You start at zero again. But then you got one and one on the side, bridging zero. You see? So it's all a matter of direct timing. To crack the infinite code of of love, you know. Crack the infinite code of love. You know, it's like I've seen myself in a couple different ways, you know. 'Cause I know myself as an ogre, I know myself as a human, you know, or a monster or whatever, but I know myself as a certain kind of energy. Like Beauty and the Beast, right? Beast. But I know myself as a certain kind of energy. Like I was born this way. Shrek couldn't help it. He was born that way. Fiona had a choice. Fiona was both human and ogre at night. She had a choice. So it's like, how do we understand that Shrek was the way he was? He was the original. He was the original. And Fiona was much younger than he was, so Fiona was born to match him. God gave something for him. God gave him a partner. You know, they said man was not best to be alone. You know, Shrek was considered a man to God. So we had no right to discuss it as a monster. We had every right to say it was a man. What does it make humans? The monsters. They were out trying to justify and judge and say all this crazy stuff about it. So the ogre, the humans were the demons. They were the demands of life. They were demanding that the ogre was not around. That's wrong. That's foul. Humans don't have a right to judge that type of shit. They have a right to love. Humans were funny because they were designed to kill anything that wasn't themselves. And that's not really fair, is it? So the second that something other than themselves would show up, more powerful or not the same look or sharper teeth or different hair color, something that would show up to be like considered not themselves, they were designed to wipe it out. That's why you see so many people killing people nowadays. Something that just seemed different. Oh, that person's gay. Kid at it. You know what I'm saying? You just, oh, that person this. Kid at it. Kid it. It's like a weird program. It's egoic because they thought they was the right thing standing, but the ogre was the right thing standing. The monster that was really what the humans thought was monstrous was really the actuality. And just like it's the same energy for both sides. They both thought they were right in their standing. Humans were defending themselves. The ogre was defending itself. They both thought human of themselves individually. They all thought human of themselves. Why decide to knock out anything that seemed different in the front side of itself? You can shake a hand and say, "Oh, da 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 da." Agree on the fact that y'all can all speak. Agree on the fact that y'all can all actually love. You can shake hands. You can laugh. You can hear a joke and say, "Ha, that's hilarious." You can agree on something. You guys can all agree that a shower feels so good. A warm shower feels so good. You guys can all agree that water might taste really good. Some water might not taste very good. There are certain things in life that just make sense. Flowers smell good, you know? What I thought was funny was how Shrek taught her how to be free, showed her all the ropes of being an ogre. Hilarious. To all my ogres out there, I feel you. You know, all my ogres out there, I feel you. I understand. To all my humans out there, I understand too. But I guarantee you, we can all feast together. Every one of us, all of us, can all feast together. Find a common neutral ground of just understanding that food tastes so good. Mhm. Yeah, everyone got flavors. They all enjoy what they like. What you ordering? Oh, I like this cheese pizza on the menu. What you got? I like steak and cheese. Oh, what you got? I got this salad over here. Mhm. What you drinking on? What you like? Oh, da da da, like the orange pants. Oh, what you got? Sprite. Okay, what you got? I like root beer. Okay, cool. And we all just chilling in this energy together. Nobody harming each other. Everyone understanding that they're together as one in the energy of taste, flavor, and love. That's why food's so important. So, martial artists such as myself, sparring is how we eat. Sparring. We spar each other. We feel each other out. The way we approach that, though, there's many ways to approach it. My favorite way to approach a sparring match, I'm a very light-hearted individual. So my personality is always geared towards keep the person safe. I was taught how to do that. My dad did a good job. My father did a good job with that. Keep the person safe no matter who it is. Keep your partner safe. My training coaches always said, don't break your toys. You know, you need them for tomorrow's training session. Don't break them. You put them in an ice bath too long, they won't make training tomorrow. I promise you. Be gentle. Now, if it's mutual, both y'all say, yo, I'm about to put you in an ice bucket for 30 minutes. and someone say, "Shit, I'm about to put you in there for 40." I'm like, "Shit, you better try to put me in there for 42 then." You know what I'm saying? We both gonna be on the same time, FaceTime. We're gonna be clocking the ice baths together. We're gonna be in there for 40 minutes together. I'll see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Oh, 600. You know? But I couldn't get along with that energy too much. I couldn't. You know, why try to increase the pain so much? You don't have to increase pain. You have to try to neutralize it. Some people can't live without pain. Some people have to live with it. You know, some people literally have to live with pain. They can't stand it without it. It's life. They gotta know that someone's there putting them in pain so they can keep going. Well, I'm sorry, but I fuel myself a little different than that nowadays. The way I fuel myself is to know that a child is there getting, if it's sparring, I'm a martial artist, so we're going to combine everything here. You ever spar a little kid? You ever play a little with a little kid? Anybody, right? Ask yourself that question. You ever play with one of your little cousins, little rough house? Just not to hurt them. I say it like that very, very gently. See the mind I'm using. See the world I'm in. Okay. You see the world that I'm in right now. And you sit and say to yourself, like, oh, I gotta I'm just playing, I'm just playing, I'm just playing. I'm not serious, I'm just playing. You know? And you guys have to pinpoint what that is in yourselves, okay? You have to be able to see that what that is very special. Play with me like a little kid. Don't you dare try to hurt me. If I sense that you're trying to hurt me because you like pain, you understand? I'm gonna be scared. That's how it is. Because if we're sparring together, and I get the feeling that you're just gonna try to hurt me, I'm not gonna want to spar you. And I'm there to help people realize that if I'm an innocent child, you gotta make me feel like I'm a little kid to you. Like, come on, buddy, come on, try again. Okay, boom, 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 boom. Up, move around, move around. Oh, boom, boom, boom. Up, good kick. All right, boom. You know, even with our adult selves, you have to be able to play like that. You cannot sit up here and play saying, "All right, let's go, bruh. Boom, I got your ass. Now you out. Come back tomorrow." Or it could get a little rougher than that. Actually, people take it real rough. Don't care that you don't come back tomorrow. Well, he's out for 3 weeks. Ha ha ha. I got him out for 3 weeks. And you in there training every day. That's not fair. That's not fair. You don't get to do that to people. You're a martial artist. Your job is to keep everybody safe in the room. Every single one of them. You touch hands with a new guy. Your job is to keep him safe. You touch hands with the champion. Your job is to keep him safe. You don't have a right to stand in front of anybody and try to win. Not in a sparring match. Matter of fact, not even in competition. In competition is consensual that somebody will walk away victorious. Somebody will walk away less injured than the other person. Somebody will be able to continue training tomorrow, and some person will be injured in the hospital. It's like, all right, you know. So it's like, we try our absolute best our absolute best to keep everybody as safe as possible. And if we're not doing that for our friends and our family, through the energy of true play, what children can teach us, that is not serious. You have to focus, everybody. You got to focus. If you can't focus on this, you all lost. The energy of focusing on what is truly real. That I'm playing with this person. I'm keeping them safe. It's not serious. That's how we win abundance in life. That's how we win God's energy in life. That's how we win favor. I'm serious. That's how we do it. You don't win favor by winning. Nah. You win favor by keeping it safe, keeping it real. You keep everybody standing on their own 10 toes safely. You don't even think about trying to kick that IT band a little extra hard because you know it's going to make the other leg tweak. My Muay Thai fighters. You don't even think about it. Unless you guys are consensually training really fucking hard to make sure that when I kick that leg, it doesn't break. But I tell you what, those guys that sit up there and sneak the energy in, I'm going to kick them a little extra hard on the inside. Bah! Oh, sorry, bro. Now you're limping. My bad. Now that guy can't even kick you hard. If he wanted to, he's in so much pain. And you walk away happy because of that, you an asshole. Slipshotting people on the incident. That's the kind of shit that I'm talking about. I can't stand niggas like that. Not at all. I sparred for years. In my personal opinion, if I find one person in there being a snake trying to cut the energy out on people and cut the momentum, problem. The back kick right to their nose. Every time. Now, that's the problem with fighting. Is what I just did there. You got someone who's, you're realizing there's someone in the room trying to cheap your energy, trying to cheap shot everybody, trying to get out, trying to injure everybody and get out safely. I don't like that. My dad always taught me to look out for people, meaning literally look out, meaning don't try and be friends with people like that. You take them out. No, I can't hunt nobody. I ain't gonna hunt nobody. I ain't gonna do that. My dad was a hunter. He would hunt bullies. He would hunt them out. He would make sure that in the locker room they were pounded really bad. Trust me, he would. I can't do that. I've never been in a fight. I don't ever want any blood on my hands like that. The most I could do is try my absolute best to stay away from people like that. You run away. Learn some parkour. You know, take the heat with you. Run with the heat. Eventually, you take their heat, some flip, you run in, boom, 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 you hit some hard balls, boom, you hit some hard flips real quick, some twists and turns. All of a sudden, the person behind you is out of breath because you're taking heat with you. It's physical. Some people really just play on the heat. They'll say, take my heat from me. I can't breathe, take someone's heat. A high head will always be energetically fueled by their own heat. So you take their heat from them, they can't breathe. Matter of fact, you give them some speed, you oxygenate it too much, they can't breathe then either. But how do you take someone's heat from them? You move faster than them. Speed, I just told you, speed is what creates the energy of where a high head can't breathe. Speed. They literally choke on their own energy. So I'm not able to neutralize all these energies, and some high heads don't want to be neutralized at all. Alright, well, I'm not friends with any high heads that don't want to be neutralized. Not to mention, I'm not friends with any high heads, period. I'm not. And there are a lot of high heads out here who have to learn how to be humble. But it's not our job to humble them. Let them remain hot. Let them go sit in a volcano somewhere, heat it up. Saunas exist for a reason. There you go. And then if you're worried about the high heads becoming cooler because you're feeling the heat too, try and just breathe for them. Drink some water for them. Think about their heat and drink some water. So here, take some cold sips. Relax a little bit. See if the energy calms down for you. Because sometimes we're selfless beings and sometimes we're selfish. Sometimes we can sip for ourselves and sometimes we have to sip for another. But the heat is the heat. So sip down the heat. Don't matter who it's from, sip down the heat. Cool it off. Completely. Completely just keep cooling it off. All the way. So there you have it. You know, a lot of us are powerful beyond measure in a sense. We have this idea that, you know, to be able to manage the heat with our chi, you know, to be able to move the energy a certain way. And it don't have to be believed that it doesn't work or works. Everyone has their own breathing techniques. Everyone has their own motions to go through. We're all managing the heat together. You know, I always looked at it, maybe it was too personal for me when I sparred. Maybe I got too personal myself. Maybe it was a part of my brain system where I was losing my energy of playing, or I didn't look at them the same way. I would be the child, they would be the adult, and I would say they got to spar me and respect me. But maybe I had to spar them and respect them, and I didn't really have the energy for that. You know, I wanted to win a little bit too. I wanted to make sure that, you know, but maybe I wanted to win a different game than they were playing. Maybe I wanted to win a certain kind of game. You know, maybe I wanted to win the game of, you know, who could really do it correctly. You know, show me philosophy, show me the wisdom, you know, show me you can do it correctly. You know, that's what a teacher's all about is demonstration. Show me that you can do it correctly. So then you can go out in the world and teach other people the same thing. Don't let me forget that I'm a teacher because you feel like you can best me. Because you take someone out of their teacher role into their actuality of self, and you start to realize that, you know, that's what people will do too. They'll come around and say, just take a load off, bro. Come sit down with me for a sec. Come, you know, if someone's keeping their space a certain way, like in the movie Never Back Down, that's how it was. The movie Never Back Down was funny because the kid was really, he was a good brawler. He could brawl well. He could fight well. He was confident in his fighting style, his fists, his hands. He could fight well. You put him in the ring with some MMA gloves, he couldn't fight for shit. He kick his legs a few times, he gets his game off guard. Get his game off. We all looked at Ryan in the movie Never Back Down like he was a bully. Oh man, he just broke this guy's structure like crazy. He tipped him off with his chick. He said, hey, he told his girlfriend that he really enjoyed. Told his beautiful girlfriend to go up there. Told his girlfriend to go up there literally and tip him off and say there's a party tonight. Come through and have some fun with us. You know? Her name was Baja. And freaking Taco Bell got Baja blasted and shit. You know, yeah, nigga got blasted. You know what I'm saying? It was hilarious. You know, so, you know, Baja went up to him and said, yo, you're that kid that really fights well. Come up to the party, you know, you're one of us. Ryan had it out for him. It was like, I'm gonna show this kid he ain't nothing in my street. He ain't allowed here. And that's bad because Ryan knew that all he had to do was kick the guy's legs a few different times, get him out of his game because his game was upstanding. It was right crosses and hard brawls, no legs. You know. And the one game, he used his whole helmet in football to hit the guy. He used his helmet. He came up there, boom. You know what I'm saying? Was shutting the whole team down. He took out a whole army of football players, literally single-handedly. No MMA, just all heart and grit. Took out everybody. Just off of the idea of someone saying, "What you say about my father? What you say?" Da 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 da. You know, and he took out the whole football team off the rage. You know. You know, his favorite thing was standing in the middle of all the energy, destroying everything in his path. That was Tyler's favorite thing to do. But you put him up against someone single-handedly, not a whole team, a single-handedly orchestrated fight. A little bit different environment. Tyler couldn't handle himself the same way. You know, Tyler threw a cup of alcohol in his face and then punched him in the face a few times. Got him distracted out of his game. And how you like it, because the guy never had sauce thrown in his face before getting punched. And then Ryan had to actually step up his game. He had to step up his technique to a real moment. Checked his leg, checked his other leg, spun kick him in the face, knocked him completely out. Show him that it really does work. In a real situation, it does work. The stuff that really does work. It's not just for show. The stuff is deadly. Martial art is very deadly. And from then on, Tyler continued his life, whatever he did, he kept continuing. Eventually, gets all the way to the point where he's sitting there looking at the fight going on under the bleachers. And he starts fighting for justice. He starts seeing someone getting pounded. Seeing his best friend Max getting pounded. Seeing the same thing happen to him. His man's Max not being a very athletic guy in the sport, but you're getting pounded. And Ryan's sitting there watching him, saying he's learning. And he knew that Ryan was using him as a punching dummy for his men. And Max was under the impression that he was their friend. He was their video recorder. So it was like a real thing of and Ryan and Tyler could feel the energy of that deceit. Max was like, I got this. Max was kind of aware, but he wasn't as aware as Ryan was, or as Tyler was. Tyler was very aware that he was being used. Max thought he was being used for good reasons. Oh, they want me they want me with their camera stuff, with their camera crew, so I'm making them famous. I'm gonna be famous too. Took some beatings to get to that point. Eventually took a real beating, got to the hospital. They almost killed him. Ryan and his men literally almost killed him. Just to get Tyler out of the hole, because Tyler was sitting there not saying he wasn't going to fight. He was going to do all this work to go to the beatdown and wasn't going to fight. And Ryan wanted to show him out in front of everybody. Matter of fact, Ryan was going to lose at the beatdown. He knew that. He was going to lose to Tyler. He was still going to put up a deep fight, though. He's going to put up the whole fight. He's going to go his whole life the way he's done it, years after year after year, winning the beatdown, winning the beatdown, winning the beatdown. Eventually, Tyler shows up. So his nemesis, or his energy, finally shows up. The max of his energy shows up. The guy that could take out a whole football team. Ryan couldn't do that. Ryan knew it. He said, I didn't have it in me to kick out a whole football team. I could take out one man at a time, though. Tyler, though, takes out whole football teams on his own. That's insane. Ryan's like, I can lose to this guy. Let's see what he does. Gives him a couple months to train. You know what I'm saying? Goes and sees the coach. Gets his energy all riled up because he wants to see him really do good. Kind of saying, it's a real twist of energy. What sometimes what fighters will do to lose their. They don't realize that they're after a losing title, but it's okay. Talking about Never Back Down. The movie was so good, and so basically, Tyler was thrown off his game, and he had to battle back. He had to learn the style. He had to come all the way back, take the same energy he had before, the grit. And what happened was Max ended up getting almost beat to death. His best friend, guy really looked out for him in school and everything. Just one of his best friends at that point. One of his men. You know, Tyler showed him love and he understood everything to the point where Ryan's girlfriend dumped Ryan and went with Tyler because it was the amount of love that Tyler was just showing everybody based on what was happening to him. Anyway, he was getting his ass kicked and he was still showing so much love to everybody. Bob was like, yeah, that's deep. I don't want to just sit up here with a guy who's good with martial art and everything. You know, no, you got to have some kind of honor. You know, so I ended up going with him. And all of a sudden, Max get beat really bad, and Tyler gets that grit in his stomach again, where he's like, "I'm gonna take out the whole football team." You know, he start getting that energy of real war. Like this ain't right. Justice coming. So he used his skills, his newly sharpened swords, his legs. He goes out there in the beatdown and starts beating everybody down as best he can. Beats out all these really good opponents, jiu-jitsu, MMA, you know, beating them all. Eventually gets all the way to Ryan's part. You know, he goes through a couple of really hard battles. You know, one of them being his knee. It was attacking his leg. You know, and or his rib cage actually. He broke some ribs. And yeah, the one guy caught a really good kick on him. And then it's hard to breathe and all that stuff. Got to that point where if he wanted to make it to the boss fight, he had to really fight. You know, he had to really take out the opponent because that guy had been through some shit too. Ryan had been through some realms to get where he was at. It wasn't easy. And Tyler was seeing that. So in order to really take him out, he had to have some purpose. And so they go all the way to the point where Tyler was like, you know, does he really want this? And he's willing to walk away with his outstanding self. You know, he outstood. You know, he was fine. And Ryan was like, "No, you ain't gonna come all the way over here to beat me. Literally, it's your time." He told Tyler this, and the energy. He wasn't really telling him this in physical. He was telling him this in the energy because Ryan ran after him in the parking lot. Tyler's almost out. He's getting ready to get in his car, getting ready to leave. He's like, "I'm done. I'm done with this shit. It's stupid. You know, why do we keep fighting for what?" You know, Ryan come all the way out there, and he's like, "No, I will lose today." Basically, he ran all the way out there. "I will lose, and I will lose honorably. I am here to lose. Do you not understand this, Tyler? I am here to lose by your hand. You know what I'm saying? You are to beat me, but I have to go through it as if I'm here to win. So I have to try and beat you. That's what true enemy is to know that it's going to lose." And you don't think Goliath stood in front of David and knew he was going to take the L? Well, he did. Goliath knew he was going to lose that day. He really did. You know, most wouldn't believe that, but that was the truth. And so, when time came for Ryan to really run up to him, he battled. They went to battle. Yeah, it was battle to outstanding. It was to really see if the prophecy was going to come true. That the energy that was getting called in was going to be real. The manifest was going to be real. Ryan was going to step down from the beatdown king, and Tyler was going to be the new beatdown king. He felt the energy coming in, and he didn't know who it was, but he saw Tyler, and he was like, "Oh, that's the guy." But he ain't that good yet. So how are we going to make him better? Well, you got to somehow get him into a gym, and you got to get him training. You got to get him doing the right thing for himself. You got to get him attuned to the energy the right way. The energy, the spirit knew that. You got to attune him the right way. So the spirit gave him many opportunities to attune him the right way. He took most of the opportunities well. And he started having some wins, and sure enough, he ended up beating Ryan really bad. Did the same thing he did to him. The karma came back around fully. Round kick to the face. Boom. Ryan was knocked the fuck out. Everybody saw it. You know, Tyler stood in there like a humble warrior, taking the dude's everything. Came and took everything from him. You know, God came and took everything from Goliath the same way. Goliath was a victorious king on his side, and David took everything from him with one stone, one slingshot, gone, everything. Goliath knew that he was going to die that day. He walked in there his death day. He knew it. The only way to really honor that, the only way was to step up and to do it. The only thing that Goliath could really bring was the fact that he was going to lose. It was the fact that he was going to try to win, but he wasn't going to try to win hard enough, and David was ready to win at all. You know, David was ready to win at the All-State. He was placed at All-State in the spirit. Goliath knew it. Goliath was one under down from him in the energy. He was the underdog technically, but he was the bigger guy. And Goliath was like, "I don't know if I'm going to win this, but I'm going to try." But I have to take all that energy from I have to really but the spirit wasn't gonna let it happen. The spirit was not gonna let it happen at all. This favor of God was on David, and Goliath knew it. So the only thing Goliath could do was try for his father in heaven as well. Was to try. Say, Father, I know I'm gonna lose this, but I'm gonna try just for you. He walked out there, and David slung that slingshot. Bam. Goliath went down, visited the father for real. And the dad most likely welcomed him with open arms and was like, you did your best, son. You did your best. David was meant to be triumphed that day. You had your run with all these triumphs. Look at all your triumphs you had. But I needed this man to win because of this energy happening in this time. The timeline needed a new king, needed a king to rule like this. The only one to do it was David. It was written for that. The only one. Show Goliath everything in heaven. Goliath understood, was humbled and peaced. That's all it was. You know, you could imagine it be that way. You could see how it lined up that way. You know, you can really take someone's breath away. You could learn the reflection of what's given to them through you. You could be a pinched nerve to somebody. Somebody could love you so much, but you could just be considered a pinched nerve to them. So your body starts pinching on nerves on you in reflection to them to see how they really treat themselves inside. And you just a pinched nerve to them on the inside. Just know that they snakes then. If your nerve is pinching on a certain side, the left, you know, it could be the same thing as it could be anybody. The love of my life could be, I could just be a pinched nerve to her. You know, on the inside, I love her so much. She's everything to me. But she'll, you know, it's hard to believe that somebody would be so evil towards me. I'm so loved to them. They'd be so evil towards me to sit there and tell me that, oh yeah, you're just a pinched nerve and I fucking hate you. Like, damn. And so that's why, but the energy does that on purpose to make you look elsewhere where you're going to be loved. If you're searching love and you want reciprocated love the right way, why would that love that you have for you yourself in this way be given to someone who hates you so much, disgusts with you so much? That's just the way the spirit works. The spirit works like that. You're in a position of genuinely giving love to give to somebody that would hate you. You're hated in this life, and someone wants you completely gone. They're not going to go after you like that, but if you give someone love, you'll get hate and resentment. Your body will start telling you signs that they hate and resent you to go away from them. But all you want is that you just get closer. In the movie Fire and Ash, it was the same thing. That wasn't necessarily the same thing. AWOL was not really pushing her away. It felt like that. You know, like, why are you pushing me away? She would keep pushing her away because you had to go at her with all of your family. You had to go at her with everything. You couldn't just have like yourself trying. You had to go with it, all of what you learned. So that person could, you know, if that reigning person was considered king or queen, you take the queen out and you show it that it was time to, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was really that time. So the person's character was meant to have such an energy against you, and if you just loved and loved and loved it, you're missing the point. Because if you're loved, and if they just, every time you love them, they get more power to hurt and to harm you. The idea was that you would hate them back, so that they could learn love. You hate them a little bit more than they hated you. Then they learn love, and then they love you. They say, oh, I'm sorry, now I know what love feels like. You know, I should learn forgiveness. You know? So, that's kind of the idea. Deep. Very deep. Because that's the truth. You know, that's the idea. That's what it is. You know, you kind of make them say that I'm sorry's. You put them in a position. They're not going to feel it if they don't feel it. If all you do is lay down for them and they just keep feeling the power standing above you, then you don't trade spots. You become hateful towards them in real time. Like in reality, you start really hating them. Because you could always love them, but if you don't let yourself hate them too, they'll never learn love. They'll never learn how to love you. Because you got to hold the opposite of reflection. Say unconditional love would never hate. No, it did. Trust me. Dude flipped tables, bro. He hated certain things. He did. He burned some things down too. He hated certain things. He did. He hated how some people didn't listen, so he got them all drunk. He would make them drunk so they would listen better. He hated the fact people didn't listen. The father would hate as well. So he would cause the opposite of emotion to make them not, to make it where it's like, oh, okay, like literally. So just understand that that's what it is. You know, so they're not going to be judged for that. That's their path. Their path has to be where if one person is started out as hate and one person starts out as love, you're all in love with a woman, but the woman don't see you like that. She just hates the fact that you love her. She's like, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. You're bothering me. Leave me alone. You're bothering me. Your love is so bothersome. It just bothers me. The most thing you can do, and you say, oh, I'm going to love you forever. I'm going to keep loving you. Don't worry. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it. They're not going to figure it out until you hate them for that. Once you hate them for that, they're going to sit there and be like, oh, I caused this in this man. I'm sorry. I actually caused hate. They're going to see their own power. They're going to say they cause hate. The most important thing for you to do as a man in that state, or anybody in a human being state, is for them to say, I remember when I loved that person. I will always love that person, but they're going to feel my hate for them. That person going to text you, going to call you, and you're going to be not answering the phone. You're going to be there. You're not going to be at their beck and call. You're not going to be there because they weren't there for you. Then they're going to sit at the prime rate of the prime energy of wow, I gotta forgive this person. I gotta do the work now. I gotta mercify myself to this. I gotta repent. I gotta ask for forgiveness. To where they feel it in themselves to forgive, not just at a giving state to say, oh, this person is merciful, so I know there's mercy for me already. Get to the point where you really hate that person and let them really forgive themselves to you, and let you really feel it in yourself that they forgive you. Some would say, oh, never hate, never hate. No, you got to trade spots a little bit. You got to know that it's all right to do both sides of the coin. That's what a real relationship is about, where you can hold both energies both ways. So you both know what it feels like. You know? If one person's like, I'm only going to hold the space for love. I'm only going to be the love that they look. Everybody else can hate them, but I'll be the love of them. Nah, that's not balanced. You're unbalanced if you think you can only be love. You have to be hate too. Be able to hate somebody to the point where you're like, you know, and then be able to love them so much as well. They say, oh, once you go to the part where you hate them, then you can't remember how to love them. No, you'll always remember how to love. It's in the hate. Your energy of, I hate this person because you love them. I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to, think about Abraham and Isaac. Abraham hated the fact that he had to go kill his son. Hated God. But he had to do it. He put Isaac on the stone and was going to kill him. And in the hate was the love for God. I love God so much I don't want to lose my own life. I don't want to have to deal with all the hate from God. I would rather follow God's order and hate something that I hate as a human being. I hate having to murder my own son, but guess what? God asked me to do it, then I have to do it. And God's energy of saying, wow, he's willing to do that for me. He said, no, hold on a second. Go get the lamb over there. Go get the lamb. Kill the lamb instead. Don't worry, it's mercified. It's good. It's forgiven for this moment. And then after that, Isaac go off the stone, the lamb go there, and then boom. In the same representation, the lamb laid there for Isaac. And God was satisfied. God said, I'll be satisfied with the lamb instead. Your obedience to what is true is true. That you can hate something, that I can give you a situation to hate me, but you'll still follow in love. You'll hate the fact that you have to hate me too. But I know that every tear that you cry will be because you love me. You know? But that's the only way. So, this podcast went deep. So, and I'm just going to enjoy sharing. That's how I'm going to share from now on. I'll be on here and I'll share. I just hope that everything got recorded. Pretty sure it did. So I'll close it out. Happy New Year, everybody. The rest of the podcast is on here, so enjoy. Everybody enjoy, May God bless us all, Prayers like, thank you for this great life that we live. All of us are blessed beyond measure. And may we get carried into the next year humbly, respectfully, and patiently. May we all understand that it's okay to hate and to love. May we understand that it's all right to, to be hated as well, to feel the need of being hated. Someone like let's say if you're just a cancer, everybody hates cancer, but cancer is a very necessary thing, and sometimes the cancer will actually help you. You gotta be willing to see that sometimes it'll help. Sometimes. It's not all the time that it's just there to help you die quicker. It's not. It's not there to make your life worse. So, so Father God, we thank you. I ain't no priest. So it's a little embarrassing me to do the things that the pastors or the priests would do. I do it my own way. A little more modern. If man wants me to do it a certain way, then I will, but I look at my Father in heaven like he's a friend of mine, like we're always connected no matter what. I'm not saying we don't give glory to him, we don't give respect to him as like the highest. I'm not saying we forget that he's the highest. But in our mutual respect of just being here right now, talking the way we're talking, that is giving him glory. The highest. It is giving him glory. You ain't got to take a part-time and say, Father God, we thank you, and you don't got to do all that. The only thing you really have to do is understand that you're here with him now. You can say, Father, we thank you. And a big shout out to Pops, big shout out to my dad in heaven, Big shout out to Dad. He allowed us to be here, doing all this beautiful work, having fun with our word, creating a good diagram for wisdom that we want to share, creating these moments with us in time, creating time for us to have these moments. We stand tall in what is real and what is true.